Just wait for him to go.
Scotty!
Scotty!
Or they still pull off about.
That's it, mate.
Yeah.
That's all they live for.
Those teeth are way too big that he's put in his head. They're having the beer for me for my birthday. Eddie's told me before I can't have a beer. Now in front of the boys, he's telling me to have a beer. And I said, yeah, there you go. That's why you only kick. You don't run, mate. I've never actually told him that was actually me, so sorry, Johnny. So my earliest memory of the World Cup would have been '99, and everyone was around cheering and following every play. I wasn't really, more so I was chatting to my mates, having a few beers, and then when the final whistle went, everyone was cheering. And I remember looking up at the screen, and these guys were holding the trophy, and I was just thinking, it was like a moment in my mind. I was like, oh shit, like these guys they're world champions. I just couldn't get my head around it, even as maybe because I was a bit blind, but it blew my mind a little bit. So since then, it was always a goal of mine to potentially go to a World Cup and potentially at one point in time be the best in the world as a team. So that was probably my first memory. My first World Cup 2003 when we were hosting it. Only 12 months earlier I was playing club football in front of maybe 150 people. Ever since I'd come into this team, we'd won and we had a winning culture. So to me it just seemed that that's what we did. Every game we went in, we won, and it might sound arrogant, but it was honestly, I wasn't thinking super confidently. I was just thinking this is what happens. Like I didn't know any other way. I always thought New Zealand were probably our biggest rivals or the hardest team that we're going to play. At one point we could have been, I don't know, a couple of minutes to go, we got a penalty. We're up by 12 points and George Gregan, there's like a famous image where he's standing over the ruck saying, 4 more years, boys, 4 more years. That kind of typified, I think, how we felt about being or beating New Zealand. Like for us, that was huge. Leading into the England game, I came into the game pretty early with Stephen Larkham got cut open on his lip. I was thrown straight on, and that's how the game kind of went for me. But my first touch, because it was quite wet, the ball kind of slipped a little bit. I didn't grab it real clean where I was able to pass. So I just thought to tuck it under. And then that cheat, that thug, what his name, Wilkinson, or he grabbed me. I didn't even have proper hold of the ball. He probably shouldn't have touched me, but he's grabbed me, picked me up, and he's just illegally, I think, red card, he smashed me. So it haunted me for a while until we got to Toulon, and every chance I got, I'd run over him. The pressure was building. The game was, in my mind, watching it because I was on the sideline at the time. You could just see England getting momentum, and Jonny obviously knocked it over with his right foot. I haven't actually looked at the footage again. Even now, I don't if I see Jonny footage coming up for the World Cup and the ball goes to him, I'll just quickly look like that, just because I don't like to see the image. Like I don't know why, but it just doesn't sit well with me. Even though he's a good friend now, but for me, that World Cup was just good memories. You know, for me, Eddie is, he's still someone that scares me, you know, like I still see him as me being that 19-year-old that he picked out of club football, almost like your headmaster. So if he'll walk into a room, I'll just go like, you know, you'll tighten up. Even if I'm in the middle of a joke, I don't like to, I don't like to seem like I'm the centre of attention if he's ever there. I always want to feel quite understated, almost like I'm worried how he'll judge me, even though I know him well enough now. I don't know, it's strange. In the World Cup, I had my 21st birthday in the World Cup, and we had training early in the day, and he's gone, "Gets your birthday tomorrow, mate." No, actually it was today. He said, "Gets your birthday today, mate." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I don't want you drinking, mate. No, we've got training tomorrow. I don't want you drinking." Yeah, so they sing me the happy birthday, give me my cake, and then the boys say, "Okay, we're going to go to the bar. We'll have a beer together." And they're doing it for me, and then the boys say, "You're going to have a beer?" I said, "No, it's all right. Like, I'll just have water. Like, I don't feel like a beer." And then Eddie's going, "No, it's your birthday, mate. You got to have a beer." And thinking, what is he doing here? Is he testing me? Or, and like, I was so confused about whether I take this beer because they're having the beer for me for my birthday. Eddie's told me before I can't have a beer. Now in front of the boys, he's telling me to have a beer. I said, oh no, it's okay, Eddie, I won't do it. He said, mate, we're here for you, mate. You just one beer will be fine. So he buys me a Corona and it's sitting in front of me. I don't really know what to do. I can't even remember if I had a sip. It's always pretty tough mentally with Eddie, like knowing that you need to be switched on. Like, it was always quite intense for me. So 2007 World Cup, I thought that was our best chance of winning the World Cup. You know, that quarterfinal, we were tracking really well. Everything went well as far as the pool stages, but the quarterfinal, we felt good. Andy Sheridan put rockets in his quads and he was unbelievable. He killed us in the scrum, and Jonny obviously made us pay with his kicking. Actually, in that game, and I saw it in Jonny's book, I was coming across to tackle him, went to hit him, and he's passed it forward and it went out. And I said, yeah, there you go. That's why you only kick. You don't run, mate. And then we went back and then we do a line out. And I remember in his book, he mentioned some Aussie player. I've never actually told him, some Aussie player that sprayed him about kicking. And he was thinking, well, that's all we need to do, you know, just 3 points. But that was actually me. So I don't know if he watches this, but if he does, sorry, Jonny. Then 2011, yeah, then I wasn't picked. It was a full stop in my international career because once you're overseas, you can't play. At the time, you couldn't play for your country. So, yeah, that was it. It was just, I thought, okay, new chapter, get ready for Toulon. Giteau's Law. For me, I feel somewhat kind of proud that the coach went to those lengths to give me an opportunity to get to 100 tests and compete at another World Cup. So I think in 2015 when Michael Cheika called me to come back and play, I just appreciated it more. I think as a guy, I'd matured a lot. Our big game was obviously going to be against England. We knew that if they lost another game, they're out. So being the host nation, there's huge pressure there, and they potentially would feel that pressure and probably not play to their full potential. You know, and we're pretty lucky that we had a fast start. Everything went quite well for us, and I finished the game with a try in the corner. Even though if I had to run another 5 meters, I reckon every part of my body would have cramped up. From there, we go on and we end up making it all the way to the final. So, for me, that World Cup, I can handle losing. The one thing that sits poorly with me is that I got knocked out and I could only contribute 20 minutes for the team. So that's still something now that sits poorly with me, purely because I remember running off. So I was running with our trainer off the pitch to get my testing, went in, the lady looked at the footage, said, I'm not even going to test you. So you've got an independent doctor, because I think if you've got your own team doctor, there could be bias shown towards, and I think player welfare is paramount. So they get an independent doctor, and they make the ruling. So that was, for me, that was hard pill to swallow, because I felt fine, and even now I feel that the doctor probably made the wrong call, but she does have to look after player welfare. So, I mean, it is what it is, but it's just a hard pill for me to swallow, because I'd worked so hard. I'd been away for 4 years, not playing test football, but then to only play 20 minutes in the pinnacle of our sport, in that final of the World Cup, was just a little tough. The one regret I probably had was internationally to not win a World Cup was probably, or is something that's missing from the cabinet, I suppose. But I've got 2 silver medals from a World Cup, no gold, but I'm not sure, like, those silvers don't make me feel any more important than the bronze. Although the pinnacle is to win the World Cup, and it's something desperately I would have liked to have done. It's not really a regret, because I don't think it would change my life or any way in which I'd live it.